Good afternoon. My name is Ava Reinitz, and I will be discussing poverty and immigrant families located in New York. As of 2021, there are 8.4 million people that live in the state of New York. Out of that number, 1.4 million of them currently live in poverty stated by the United States Census Bureau. That is 1/8 of New York's entire population. This is a continuous problem that begs the question, how can the U.S. continue to aid immigrant families facing poverty in upstate areas such as New York? How can policymakers and the people come together to solve this prevalent issue? The photograph that inspired this research is Migrant Mother, taken by Dorothea Lange. It showcases the raw emotion of the mother who had to survive with little to none and take care of her children. It represents her resilience in the face of poverty and her struggle as an immigrant in a new place. This leads to my three perspectives I researched when evaluating this issue: the mothers, the children, and the policymakers. When looking at the mothers, there are three main causes of poverty. They consist of low-wage job options due to lack of experience and being in a new place, exploitation of children for money, and reoccurring issue of the language barrier that will be mentioned throughout this presentation. What often keeps children in poverty is a lack of education, the cycle, which I'll touch on this slide, and language barrier once again. And lastly, the policymakers who have enacted initiatives, multiple policies put in place, such as Medicaid, CHIP, and DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and other financial aids as well. The cycle starts with parents in poverty that train children to struggle in a way. When you start with poor parents with poor job opportunities, it leads to a lower quality education when you have less money to fund it. This leads to poor job opportunities in the future. It is important to recognize that this doesn't apply to every situation, but there are factors that affect many families across the board. The second stimulus I used to further my paper was the article, in their own words, Resilience Among Haitian Survivors of the 2010 Earthquake. Haitians are a prime example of people who overcame adversity and continue to be one of the most independent cultures. According to the article, understanding Haitian resilience can inform health and policy interventions if these are taken as cultural resources. This picture shows where the earthquake struck, dead center in their home. Staying on the topic of Haitians is my first solution. The first solution is to expand and support existing initiatives. The first example is the Haitian Americans United for Progress, which have contributed to many programs, including the Maternal Infant Health Program, Adult Education Program. They have also partnered with other organizations and have raised over $25,000. There is also the Haitian Response Initiative, which is founded by Catholic churches, and they also speak Creole, which can connect with Haitian immigrants. Limitations to consider are outreach, which is how they can spread the word of their cause, funding, which would require a system needed in place to actually back up the charity, finding people to join the cause, and finally, with the charities I found being Haitian-based, it limits the actual amount of people being helped. However, there are many other causes in place to help all sorts of immigrants. Implications would include accessibility to the public, the expansion of community, and the representation of Haitians as well as others that would be in need. The second solution I found was the Global Poverty for Immigration Policy. This was reviewed and proposed by Kieran Oberman, who is a professor in philosophy at Oxford College. This is the idea that high-class areas, New York included, drop immigration restrictions for residents of poorer countries. The point of this is to see the influence of migration and open up more job opportunities. Limitations that play into this are the fact that the global plan requires a lot of communication and is a difficult progress. Since it is global, there's a lot of factors that come into play all over the world and a lot of countries. There is also, in theory, the possibility of forced migration, where people may be forced to leave their home countries in order to find jobs. Implications out of this would mean expanding the labor market, and it would create a vast and easier flow of migration. The last solution I have is providing easier access to education where the people need it. As discussed earlier, one of the biggest issues across the board in families is the language barrier. Opening up options such as public areas like libraries and rec centers give free online courses where and if they have the means to access it, and language counseling, especially to give the kids a step up in their life. A quote from, The child's ability to use and profit from school has been recognized as playing a unique role in escape from opportunity. Limitations include finding teachers that are able to help them learn and funding for teachers, such as technology, books, and other resources they may need, as well as access to online if that route is available. This would mean more job opportunity, community building of students and teachers, and lessening the language barrier by teaching them English. Overall, with these three solutions, it would put New York on the right track in helping migrant families face poverty and live a life meant living. These are my works cited.
Hi, Ava. I've got your first question. Did your research go in a different direction than you originally planned or hypothesized?
Yes. I knew that poverty was a big problem among New York, especially considering how big of a city it is, but it was really surprising to find that 21% of children face poverty, while adults, it's only 13.5%. That's stated by Lawrence Berger, who is a chancellor in social science research, and it is further proved the way to slow poverty is to start with the kids.
Hey, I have your second question. What are the implications of your findings to your community?
When connecting New York's community to our own, we can kind of make a comparison. While New York is a very vast place with very deep poverty levels, when we look at our community, even Fairview and Williamson County, it's a much smaller, less funded community. And when we look at solving issues like this, we can look at other initiatives that have been in place. For instance, GraceWorks that we had and stuff like that can provide to poor children and families.